Hi class, this is Professor Viersen again, and I'm going to take a look at problem number 8 in your Chapter 2 homework. This problem says compute the cost of goods manufactured, cost of goods sold for Blue Sea Company for the most recent year using the amounts described next, assuming the raw material inventory contains only direct materials. So I'm going to click on the data again, as I've mentioned before. We're setting up our data table to put it into a format that gives us information. And remember that when you do a cost of goods manufactured and a cost of goods sold statement, you need to complete the statements by adjusting for the three inventories, which are raw material, work in process, and finished goods. And in addition, you have to add the production cost of direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead into the statements in order to complete them. So as a beginning step, we need to first calculate how much direct materials were used during this period of time. And in doing so, we'll also adjust for the raw material inventory. So we'll start with the beginning raw material inventory. We'll add the purchases of direct material we had. This will give us a total of all of the materials that were available for use. We'll subtract the ending raw material inventory, and our final answer for direct material used then will be a combination of these numbers. Okay, I look over at my data table, and it says my raw material in the beginning was $27,000. That during this period of time, I purchased $79,000 worth of materials. Adding these two together is $106,000. And finally, because I have $31,000 worth of materials on hand at the end, I'm going to subtract that amount because it's obviously not part of what I used if I still have it. And now I subtract 31,000 from 106,000. And so I begin by calculating that I used $75,000 during this period of time for direct materials. Now I can actually finish my cost of goods manufactured statement. In this statement, I'm going to adjust for the work in process inventory, and I'm going to add in my production costs. So first of all, I'm going to use my beginning work in process inventory. Notice how we add the beginning inventories and subtract the ending inventories. And then I'm also going to add the direct materials I'm using that I calculated in the first part of this problem. I'm going to add the direct labor that was used, and I'm also going to add the manufacturing overhead costs. This is going to give me the total manufacturing costs that I have to account for. Because I'm adjusting for the work in process, I'm going to subtract the ending work in process inventory, and this will give me my cost of goods manufactured. Again, I'm just filling in these numbers from the table. The direct materials comes from my first calculation. Direct labor comes directly from the information on my data table, and my manufacturing overhead. Now, this is a little bit more complicated, so I'm going to use my calculator, and I'm going to have to classify anything that is indirect labor or indirect materials, and any manufacturing overhead goes into manufacturing overhead. So I can see here that I have, to begin with, I have $46,000 worth of indirect labor. I'm going to add then the insurance on the plant, and the key word there is plant. Okay, and now I'm going to add the depreciation on the, again, the word is plant. That's the key. If it says equipment, plant, factory, that's the key. And then finally, the repairs and maintenance on the plant, that's not actually part of manufacturing overhead. And marketing is another part of the value chain. General administrative expenses, part of the value chain. So I'm going to equal, and I'm going to have to stop